misconception that is spread. Besides jihad, the second common misconception which is spread regarding Islam is that Islam was spread by the sword. This misconception that Islam was spread by the sword is very common. The best reply is given by Dilese O'Leary, a famous historian. He mentions in the book Islam at the Crossroad on page number 8, he says that history makes it clear that the legend of fanatical Muslims sweeping across the world, forcing Islam at the point of the sword over conquered races is the most fantastic, absurd myth that historians ever repeated. Dilese O'Leary says that the legend of fanatical Muslims sweeping across the world, forcing Islam at the point of the sword over conquered races is the most fantastic, absurd myth that historians ever repeated. This is a myth. Today, if we see history, we Muslims, we ruled the Arab lands for about 1400 years. We Muslims are the lords of the Arab lands for 1400 years. For a few years the Britishers came, for a few years the French came, but overall we have been the lords of the Arab lands for the past 1400 years. Today, yet, there are more than 10 million Arabs who are Coptic Christians. Coptic Christian means they are Christians in generations. These more than 10 million Arab Christians, they are giving shahada that Islam wasn't spread by the sword. If the Arabs wanted, if the Muslims wanted, they could have forced every non-Muslim to accept Islam at the point of the sword. We didn't do it. These 10 million Arabs who are Coptic Christians are giving shahada, are bearing witness that Islam wasn't spread by the sword. We Muslims, we ruled Spain for over 800 years. Later on, we were wiped out. The Crusaders came. There was not a single Muslim who could openly give the azan. We Muslims, we ruled India for about 1,000 years, the Mughals. We did not use the sword. We did not force anyone to accept Islam at the point of the sword. Today, there are more than 80% Indians who are non-Muslims. These 80% non-Muslim Indians, they are giving shahada, they are bearing witness that Islam wasn't spread by the sword. If we wanted, we were in power. We could have forced every non-Muslim to accept Islam at the point of the sword. We didn't do it. It is the second biggest populated country in the world, and the biggest democratic populated country in the world is India. More than 80% of the Indians are non-Muslims. They are giving shahada, Islam wasn't spread by the sword. Today, the country which has the largest number of Muslims in the world is Indonesia. I'm asking the question, which Muslim army went to Indonesia? Which Muslim army went to Malaysia, which has more than 55% Muslims? Which Muslim army went to the east coast of Africa, which has Muslims? Which Muslim army? Which sword? Thomas Carlyle writes in his book, Heroes and Hero Worship. He rates Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as his number one hero prophet. He says, it will do little good if you take a sword and propagate it. Every new idea originates in the mind of one. In one man's head, it dwells alone. One man against the whole of humanity. It will do little good if he picks up a sword and propagates it. Which sword? Sword of intellect. Allah says in the Quran in Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 125, Udu ila sabili rabbika bhikma wal mawzat al hasna wajadum billati ahsan. Invite all to the way of thy Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching, and argue with them and reason with them in the ways that are best and most gracious. Today, the sword that is conquering the hearts is the sword of love, is the sword of peace, is the sword of Islam, is the sword of intellect, it is the sword of reasoning. There was a survey done which came in the Reader Digest Almanac Yearbook 1984, which was reprinted even in the Plain Truth magazine. It is a survey of the increase in the major world religions in a span of 50 years from 1934 to 1984. And number one religion that increased maximum was Islam, 235%. Christianity, only 47%. I want to ask you the question, which war took place in the span of 50 years between 1934 and 1984, which forced millions of non-Muslims to accept Islam? Which war? Which war? Today, according to statistics, the fastest growing religion in USA is Islam. The fastest growing religion in Europe is Islam. The fastest growing religion in the world is Islam. The media says that Islam subjugates the women. Do you know, out of those people accepting Islam in the Western countries and throughout the world, 2/3 are women. More than 66% of the people accepting Islam. Who is forcing these American women to accept Islam? Who is forcing the European women to accept Islam? And after 9/11, when the attack against Islam increased, every day several books are written against Islam. In the media, always they say, war on terror, war for peace. It's not war on terror, it's not war for peace, it is war on peace. It is war on the religion of peace, Islam. The media war is against Islam. It is not war for peace, it is war on peace. War on peace of the religion of Islam. War on Islam. So this media is against Islam. It is raging a war against Islam. After 9/11, in a span of 10 months, in USA alone, 34,000 Americans accepted Islam. According to Johan Redley, in Europe, in a span of 9 months after 9/11, 22,000 Europeans accepted Islam. However much the time to attack Islam, more Islam is spreading. As Allah says in the Quran in Surah Imran, chapter 3, verse 54, Makarallahu wallahu khairul makirin. They planned and plotted. Allah too planned. Allah is the best of planners. More they try, more the world is trying to suppress Islam, that much Islam is growing. It's growing at a phenomenal rate. And because it's the promise of Allah. Allah promises in the Quran in no less than 3 different places. In Surah Tawbah chapter 9 verse number 33. In Surah Fatah chapter 48 verse number 28. And in Surah Saf chapter 61 verse number 9. Allah says, Huwa allazi arsala rasulahu bil-huda wa dinul haq liyuzhirahu ala ad-dini kullih. That Allah has sent His messenger with the religion of truth, so that will prevail over all the other religions, kulle, over all the other religions, whether it be Christianism, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Socialism, Atheism. Islam is destined to supersede all, kulle, master them all. However much the mushrik don't like it, Allah says, Huwa allazi arsala rasulahu bil-huda wa dinul haq liyuzhirahu ala ad-dini kullih wa kafa billahi shahida. That Allah has sent His messenger with the religion of truth, so that it will prevail over all the other religions, over all the other ism, whether it be Christianism, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Socialism, Materialism, Atheism. Islam is destined to supersede all, kullih, master them all. Wa kafa billahi shahida. And enough is Allah as a witness. Allah does not require you and me the rubbish that we are. Allah is enough to make His deen prevail. Allah is enough, is sufficient to make His religion of Islam prevail in the full world. Allah does not require you and me the rubbish that we are. Allah is giving us an opportunity to do a prophet's job and to earn a prophet's reward. He's giving us an opportunity. If I start thinking that if I don't do dawah, Islam will not spread, I'm the biggest fool in the world. Allah does not require zakir naik. Allah can create 1 million zakir naik in less than a second. Allah does not require Peace TV. Allah does not require Peace TV. He can create 1 million Peace TV in less than a second if He wants. He is giving us an opportunity to do a prophet's job and to earn a prophet's reward. I'm requesting the brothers and sisters here that convey the message of Islam to the non-Muslims, to those who are not aware of it. Use the media, use science, use technology, use internet, use WhatsApp, use Facebook, whatever you have to convey the message of Islam to those who are not aware of it. I would like to end my talk with 2 things. With the quotation of the Quran of Surah Isra chapter 17 verse 81, which says, وَقُلْ جَعَ الْحَقْ وَذَاقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. When truth is hurled against falsehood, falsehood perishes, for falsehood is by its nature bound to perish. I would like to end my talk with the quotation of Dr. Adam Pearson. Dr. Adam Pearson said that people who worry that one day nuclear weaponry will fall in the hands of the Arabs, they fail to realize that the Islamic bomb, the bomb of peace, has already been dropped. It fell the day Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born.